Hello and welcome to the Downsize. My name is Christopher Durham,
I'm Laraine Durham.
and this is the Downsize Dish. This is our weekly opportunity to talk to people around the world that are using GLP-1s to learn about their adventures, their experiences, hopefully learn something from them, and just get a snapshot of what's going on. Today, I'm excited to have Zach Bishop from, where are you from, Zach?
Manchester in the UK.
All right, and who are you?
I'm Laraine Durham, married to Christopher Durham. I've lost 50 pounds on compounded tirzepatide, and we talk to people who are on all different forms of GLP-1s, and GLP-1s are drugs like Mounjaro, Zepbound, Wegovy, Ozempic, semaglutide, tirzepatide, etc.
And so on.
So, Zach, it's great to have you here. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And what medication are you currently taking, Zach?
Yeah, so I'm using Mounjaro, so the UK version of Mounjaro, which is the one for weight loss. I think it's something
Yeah.
like so.
Yeah, and so in the UK you don't have Zepbound. You only have have Mounjaro in the UK. And is it just in vials, or do you have the pen?
Yeah, I've got the,
So it's a pen, so it's a 4-dose pen.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like that. That's the one.
I got it. One of our viewers from the UK sent it to us. So.
What is that? And what dose are you taking currently?
Currently on 7.5, 20 weeks. So that would be my fifth pen.
All right. So tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got started.
Can I start? But let's tell us about Zach first. So who is Zach?
Yeah, so I'm 27, live in Manchester. I'm an accountant, so very exciting work-wise. I think that's probably the main reason I've gained a lot of weight, to be honest. It's not the most movement required job. I think I was studying accounting at university. I was a healthy BMI weight then. And I think someone jokingly said that you wouldn't trust a skinny accountant. And I think I just took that literally. And from that point onwards, I just sort of ballooned in weight. So for like the 9 years from that weight, I'd gained, I'd gone for, obviously I'll say UK here, I went from about 75 kilograms up to 118 at my highest, which was back in May. Fairly slow progression with weight, but just constant weight gain. There was nothing I could really do to control it. And then I had a flight early in the year to Valencia in Spain, and I got on the plane. It was the first time I put the seatbelt on. And I was like, oh, that almost doesn't fit. Very, very scary. And for me, that was the shock that sort of led to all of this.
I mean, I know we've flown a good bit, and I mean, I never needed the extender, but
it was close.
It was getting close.
Maybe then budget airlines. It was the budget airlines' fault. It was
and those seats are so skinny now that you just you're like, oh, this is not comfortable.
Yeah. So just the thought of having to put my hand up and say, "Can I have one of them extenders, please?" scared me quite a bit.
I'm with you, man. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So how'd you get started with the medication?
Yes, the way I think in the UK, I don't think it's that well known. Most people I've mentioned while I've been on it don't even know about what it is, or they've never heard the name before. So I use, through my health plan at work, a scheme called Second Nature, which was on the NHS, just to try and encourage you to lose weight. Wasn't really successful on it, just sort of following it on my app. And they did a seminar about 4 weeks into that on Mounjaro. First time I'd heard about it. Watched the seminar, basically from that point, tried to learn as much as possible. And within a week, I'd ordered my first pen.
Wow.
It is fairly easy to get in the UK. I think it is, when you follow people in the US and other countries, you maybe forget how lucky you maybe have it, especially when you talk about price and the difficulties. But having it back since then, it's crazy. One of the weirdest things.
And how much does it cost to get the Mounjaro pen in the UK?
The dosages, it increases in price. I use a specific company online, and it's £149. So compared to the prices you hear from US people, it's very low, really.
And so NHS, that's the
National Health Service.
National Health Service in the UK. And so compared to us in the United States, where everybody has a different health plan and everybody's paying a different price. So the National Health Service or the NHS covers Mounjaro for all people?
No. So I had to go privately to get that. That was a private. I think to get on NHS, you'd have to meet very certain requirements. and you'd be waiting many, many years with the people that I'd seen online. And they were probably in more extreme situations than I was when I started. I think my BMI was 38, which is quite high, but I still don't think would have received that anytime soon. I was sort of fortunately through my job and financial circumstances, I was able to go privately. So I went that route.
The difference, though, is the NHS does regulate the cost of medications coming into their country. So they don't just let them go willy-nilly and charge anything they want.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yep.
That's good.
Well, so talk to us about the experience. So you're on your 5th pin, you said? Or you're on your 5th? Yeah.
I think that the thing that shocked me most is that it hasn't felt like a challenge pretty much at all. I think at the times when people have talked about weight loss or when you've watched it in the media and stuff, there's always that challenge or there's that grind of people struggling with it. It almost feels like I'm waiting for something to just kind of hit me and like, oh, here's what you've been waiting for. It feels like there should be a suffering aspect to it. When you think of diets in the past and people torture themselves restricting certain foods, or it's hard to put into words how easy it is until you've experienced it.
Yeah. And you've lost, how much have you lost?
Yes, as of today, 47 pounds in 20 weeks.
In 20 weeks? That's amazing. Yeah.
It's like, of them 9 years I was gaining weight, I've reset 4.5 years in 20 weeks without really trying. It's crazy how effective it's been.
Are you at your goal or do you want to lose more?
No, so I'm still in what would be the obese category for BMI. So I'm literally 50% of the way there. I want to get back to where I was at the healthy BMI. So another 49 pounds to go.
Okay. Oh, I think we have some before and
pictures,
after.
So let's take a look here.
Yeah. So you can still see fairly big, but it's just it's crazy how it goes off your face and the areas you don't want it to go off straight away. And
yeah, so I have this problem around the middle too. So in clothes, it's not so bad, but you take that shirt off and you're like, oh.
it'll still be the last place to go. But I'm happy that you can hide it with a shirt in the face. I no longer look like I'm pushing out.
Well, here's your face here.
Yeah, you can definitely see it in your face for sure. For sure.
Well, so tell me again what your starting weight was?
Starting weight was 260 pounds. Current weight is 214 or 213 as this morning.
Okay, so
you're very similar to Christopher.
Yeah, I was 286 or so. So you're about Anyway, so it's worked well, obviously, for you. That's awesome.
I'm 5'7", as well. I think I mentioned that 5'8".
So you're a couple inches shorter than I am.
Yeah,
that's okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is interesting. So you said it's been easy. So have you had side effects at all?
Yeah, I probably had constipation as the only sort of physical one, but for me, I think it's sort of been that mental side of it. Just from it feeling so easy, it's still being fairly a taboo subject in the UK. There's not really many people I know that I go talk to. I don't know many friends I think that's why I sort of relied on social media and YouTube just to feel like you're not alone doing this. Because it sort of goes with, I feel sort of very privileged to be able to, how cheap it is in the UK compared to what other people are doing. But at the same time, it's still fairly inexpensive medicine. Most of the people I think would need this and would really benefit from this would still not be able to afford it, to be able to go privately with medical. So you sort of feel like you don't want to talk about it, but you also really want to talk about it because of how effective and brilliant it's been to you. So you're sort of stuck in that sort of catch 2022, you feel.
Yeah. So have people noticed your weight loss?
Yeah, I think work from home sort of hides it a little bit, but still the days when you're in the office and you can see in person, I think that's when you can start to see it a bit more. I think it's more like just you have this extra confidence that I think that's just makes such a big difference. And I think that's the things people notice maybe before. But it's, I think just losing that weight so quickly in 20 weeks, it is noticeable.
Do you tell them that you're taking a medication or you don't?
Everyone that asks, I think I've also got the privilege of, I think being a male, it's a lot easier when people ask. You haven't got the media pushing this sort of agenda on you of how you should look and everything. I think you can sort of talk and feel like you're not going to get judged as much as other people. So I've been very open about it to the people that have asked, but then I think you try and base it on the circumstances of the people you're talking to because you don't want to sell this dream that maybe they wouldn't be able to afford at the moment until it becomes cheaper. But then you also, if you think it can help them, you sort of want to ask them to look into it, don't you? So there's always trying to predict.
Have you gotten any pushback or anybody giving you a hard time?
Not yet. I think that's purely because I'm male. I think it'd be so much different if I was a female, and I accept the sort of privilege that I have from that.
I haven't gotten it. People are, I don't carry myself such that people are gonna push back like that.
As I said, the most important thing is sort of how you feel at the root of it. So it sort of doesn't really matter if the tests and the doctors and the way you feel is better, then sort of doesn't matter what that random person that you very rarely talk to that doesn't really mean anything in your life says.
Well, so you're young. So, and I'm curious, because I'm 56 years old, so 30 years older than I could be your dad, right? So the weight loss, how have you felt it? How have you noticed it? I mean, how has it impacted your life so far?
Yeah, so if I was to compare it to when I was that weight while gaining weight, it's very different at the moment. I feel like I've been able to, just not having that food noise, I'm able to sort of test and try different things. So things like supplements, different diets. You don't have that food noise or the thing that's trying to break you from doing these things. So I've kind of treated it as like a science experiment, and every couple of weeks I'll change something or do something else. In my weight at the moment, I guess having not been able to do all the movement I could do, 50 pounds almost heavier, I definitely look better now at this weight than I did when I was that weight without doing the exercise and eating well. But it's just crazy seeing that. For every week, I've not had a week where I've gained weight back or it's stopped. It's been every week 1 to 3 pounds without sort of without, as I said, it doesn't feel like I'm trying. It's crazy how effective it is.
Yeah, when Christopher and I first started, we'd wake up in the morning, we'd weigh ourselves, and we'd be like, "How much did you lose?" Oh my gosh, we were still losing. Like it was like I was kind of waiting for, I guess, like the other shoe to drop. Like I was waiting for, like, is this is still happening, and it's still happening, and it's still relatively easy. So I mean, that's great. Let's talk about you mentioned exercise. What kind of exercise are you doing?
Yeah, so I think it's at the start, I think people sort of try and eat healthier and try and do weight. But when you're massive, it's not easy to start many things. So I've sort of just tried to respond to how my body's felt as it's come down in weight. So first it was just steps, and then slowly increase that. And then you sort of feel like you aren't carrying this extra massive backpack of really heavy thing. Once that's gone, try to do a little bit more. So it's home weights and sort of badminton. So things that I enjoy. I don't like the idea of going to the gym. For me, I don't feel comfortable as a big guy in the gym. Still being a big guy, just the mental side of it. I don't get the endorphin rush. I don't enjoy it. So I don't see the point in forcing myself to do things that aren't sustainable. I'm going to be doing for a long time. I'd rather try and get it from something like badminton or stuff I can do, work from home, just a treadmill under the desk, doing steps, that sort of thing. Yeah. So it's just little movements that are sustainable, I think, has been what I've got to. If that changes as I get smaller, maybe I will when I go into the gym. Like I don't feel as self-conscious. That might change, but I've never been someone, even at a skinny weight, that like going to the gym.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's great that you want to do something you can sustain, that you feel good about, and so that you keep doing it. So I think that's perfect. I think that's great. So it's always nice to find something you enjoy, like badminton, or just even walking is great. So we'll have to get Christopher into
sure. Sure.
But yeah.
But I mean, he's right. It's because I've lost 84 pounds. And at 84 pounds and 56 years old, even going up and down the steps was not an easy task. So today, okay, I can do that. That's not a problem, right? It's better.
What kinds of things are you eating? Or have you changed your diet at all?
Yes, that was probably another side effect I didn't touch on. My desire towards food has just been completely stripped away. So the thought of cooking most evenings just sounds like the worst thing I could possibly do. I didn't cook too much beforehand, but I still use, say, sort of delivery kits, such as HelloFresh, that send you the raw ingredients and you make it yourself. I've since gotten even lazier, and I get well, I can sort of the healthiest things I can find. So in the UK, there's things like Prep Kitchen, or I think it's called Simmer. It's just essentially they send the food already prepared. You put it in the microwave, and then it's done. And I'll just add things such as seeds or some salad or some pickled vegetables just to sort of bulk it out. But that is something that I'm not sure if that will come back, and I feel like I want to start preparing food, but just not being able to walk to a supermarket and not be sold from all the advertising and have cravings when you're walking around. It's a whole new feeling, but that sort of carries on into the house. The thought of preparing food that you're not excited to
eat.
Well, and I know Marks and Spencer's and Sainsbury's both have launched some protein focused lines that it doesn't say GLP-1s on it, but you can tell that's what they're aiming them at. And all those ready to eat meals that they have. There's a million of them, right?
Just going back to what I was talking about, sort of all the science experiments and trying to try different things. One of the things that I probably got into a couple of months in was trying to limit ultra processed food and trying to see if that made me feel any different from not having the cravings for it. It was probably the easiest time you could possibly try and remove it. So it was trying to find the healthiest meal kit that I could still put in the microwave that had the least amount of processed things. Like I found that the ones in the supermarkets tend to be more sort of things that would qualify as UPF. So the ones that I've tried to find as little as that. But again, it's expensive. It's not as cheap as for yourself. So you're sort of suffering in that regard by going that route.
But I guess you're not buying maybe other things you were buying before.
Yeah, the snacking sort of
junk food.
Completely eliminated off the back of it. I'm only eating 2 meals a day off the back of it. So
no crisps and Tim Tams.
What did you say, Christopher?
No crisps and Tim Tams.
No chips, as we say here. So so that sounds really good. Ultra processed food. I guess the UK seems a little bit more focused on that than maybe Americans are.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. There's so much processed food here. It's hard to get away from it. Christopher cooks a good bit, but I don't cook. So I've been eating frozen diet meals my whole life. Maybe part of the problem. So but that's good that you are still getting in the 2 meals a day. Do you count your calories or protein or anything like that?
That was sort of my big worry. When the medication was at its strongest, it was a difficulty to eat. I'd use a few what I consider workarounds at this point, where you'd buy sort of meal replacement drinks just on the days where you really couldn't hack it. So Fuel or different brands just seeing. I didn't like it. I think they made me feel quite bloated, and I would only use them now as a sort of last. If I needed to get the calories in, and I couldn't eat, and I'd use that. But I've gone back. I tried to avoid supplements. I think now, off the back of trying all these things, if I can eat it from the food, then I'd much rather do that. I think you've mentioned fiber gummies on things in the past.
Yeah.
They make you feel so bloated compared to eating seeds or like proper food. So
that's how I am too. All those powders and proteins and stuff, I take a multivitamin. That's it.
The one that I've really sold on though is the collagen drinks. I do feel like that really helps my skin. I'm on a week now. I'm testing not using it for a couple of weeks, and I've started to get spots. And I've officially got spots after using it for a week. So I'm sold on the collagen drinks in the morning.
Have you had any hair loss?
No.
That's good.
Maybe that's down to age, but I think maybe I'm potentially going overboard on the collagen. I understand I'm still young and my skin is likely to bounce back, but it is losing weight quickly. I'm scared that there is going to be a loose skin element. So
I mean, people report that collagen has helped their skin and their hair and nails and all that. So you have nice skin. So I would keep going with that.
So talk to me about the dosing. So how have you gone titrated?
Yeah, so I was on 2.5 for a week. The supplier that I was using recommended that you go up every 4 weeks to the new dose. So I did that the first time, and then I sort of regretted it, just thinking they're a business. They want us to go up as fast as possible. They make more money on the higher doses. I should just base it on how I'm feeling. So then I was on the 5 milligram for two months. And then I've been on the 7.5 ever since. If I could go back, I probably would have stayed on the 2.5 for an extra month and the 5 for an additional month. Just I was still losing weight. Even going up, I'm not losing more weight. I'm eating the same calories because I'm eating the same food pretty much every day. So I think I'll be on 7.5 for at least a few more months now. I think trying to slow it down as much as possible.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And is your doctor that's writing that? I mean, how are they working with you on that? They're just doing what you ask? Or?
It's surprisingly easy to get hold of. It's literally all done online. I've never met anyone in person about this. You send them a picture at the start. They've not seen any of the pictures. It's just an online form. I think it's scary how easy it is to sort of get hold of. But they literally, you fill in a little form. It says it goes to review, but it's within seconds. It gets approved and dispatched, and it comes within 1 or 2 days. It's scary how quickly it comes.
It gets shipped to your house?
Yeah, directly to my house in a cold package, which you pack and stick in the fridge.
That's a really easy. Can I go online to a?
Well, I was watching
watching
a guy who went to the UK and rented an Airbnb and went on to one of these places, and he was able to get it. I mean,
yeah, that's
definitely. If you can get some cheap flights to the UK, maybe you should book a hotel for a weekend, get a delivery, and fly back.
Yeah, I mean, with people here are paying out of pocket over $1,000 a month for them. And even with the coupon, if you have a manufacturer's coupon here, we're getting it for $550, which is still a lot. And then the compounded that I buy is $325 a month for the compounded tirzepatide. So plus I have to pay an online membership fee for the doctor fee of $79. And when I want to do a refill here, I put it in, it floats around for a couple days. They say, okay, we've put it to your provider for a couple days. It goes to the pharmacy and then it kind of works its way and lands at my doorstep. But that definitely sounds like an easier process that you have in the UK.
It feels unfair when you watch people online. I think a lot of the people that I do watch are based in the US. It's not as big in the UK. There's not many streamers here. It's quite hard to watch content of people in the UK, especially people that have been on it for a long time, sort of over a year. But you do sort of feel a little bit. I'm very privileged to be able to get this so cheap, where 2 months worth of in the US is almost a year's worth in the UK.
Yeah, wow.
Well, and your government's been a bit more progressive on all this. I know the NHS has got some test programs going on, and I think you guys are probably going to see it pretty cheap if you hit the right BMI numbers. So
I think it'll be interesting. I think it needs to be as cheap as possible because of how effective it is. I think it's almost scary, the world we live in at the moment, where you want to go to the hospital, and to get to the hospital you have to drive past 7 takeaways. If you want to go on a walk, you walk past a bus shelter that's got an advert for a chocolate bar on. You literally can't go anywhere without them, sort of the society that we live in, pushing the agenda that you need to eat and keep consuming. So it feels like we've finally got a tool to, I guess, put blinkers on and not see that. It's our way of sort of fighting back, which I think is the thing that interests me most. Why it's so fun watching people online talk about it, because I think it's scary how these massive food manufacturers are going to, I think, over the next 10 years, they're going to be writing in their reports, the biggest fear that we have is this medication.
Well, so we haven't recorded the news this week, but we'll do that later today. And one of the stories that we'll record today is from the American chocolate manufacturer Hershey, talking about their numbers are down because of GLP-1s. So
blame it on GLP-1s, are they?
I think
there's many years of people saying, because of COVID, our results are down, and now it'll be GLP-1s saying, that's why we made them.
You get 140 million people all taking them. They're not going to eat as much chocolate by Hershey or Cadbury. So
I think that's why it's so. I think we're still so early at the start of it. I don't think people realize how big this could be and how much it's going to disrupt the industry. And I think it's nice to sort of be in there early and sort of. It's just addictive trying to stay on top of all this news.
Well, I mean, it's still early here too.
It is, yeah.
So we've been on the medication a little over a year. I had a friend who started, I guess, maybe a year before we started. So, I mean, I don't know anyone in the U.S. who's really done it longer than 2 years on tirzepatide, semaglutide. So Ozempic, Wegovy has been around longer, but
most of those people were taking it for diabetes. They weren't taking it for obesity.
Right. Yeah. Well, and then Wegovy came out for weight loss. So, I mean, yeah, we're very much in the beginning here too of GLP-1s and it being
We just have crazy media that likes to talk about stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, I get it here too. Like when people, and of course I didn't tell them at first, anything about any medication or anything, but now of course I do when we have this channel, and I want to talk about it so that people get more comfortable talking about it. And so people, realize that this medication works, and, obesity is a disease and it's problematic and it causes a lot of other health related issues. So, I think it's great that people are finding it and people are getting on it. So you're one of the early.
Yeah, maybe you should start a YouTube channel.
Yeah, you should start one in the UK. So
you might be the only guy doing it in the UK that I know of.
There's a massive gap in the market. I don't think I've got the charisma to do it.
You know what? You just start.
You just start talking.
I mean, I'm intrigued though, because I think you and I kind of have the same philosophy on food on all of this, because we're definitely spending less because we're just eating a lot less food. But when we're shopping, we're buying better food.
Yeah, completely.
So I'm walking in and we still eat pretty much anything we want. I mean, we're not eating
junk food,
crisps or anything of that regularly,
McDonald's,
but we will occasionally. But if I go buy a steak, I buy a nice steak because I'm not eating a very big piece of it, or a chicken or whatever. So I think it's interesting that you have kind of come down that path as well.
I definitely think there's a guilt aspect of it as well, because it's sort of just making an even bigger gap between the people that can afford it and they sort of can make a difference with their health, and then there's the people that can't. And the organic, really healthy things you've just mentioned is still really expensive. They can't afford that. That's sort of allowing me to get better. They can't afford this medicine, and they're sort of, you're going to have wealthy people get skinnier and poor people get fat, which is the complete opposite of how I guess it used to be 150 years.
Right.
Kings and
Henry VIII was a big boy, wasn't he?
So seeing that dynamic, I think it's scary to see you sort of making a bigger divide.
Well, I mean, I can tell you what I believe, because we've done a lot of news stuff on all the new drugs that are being developed. And I think once there's 3 or 4 companies out there doing this in pill form, you'll see the prices come down dramatically and they'll be more accessible. And if that doesn't happen, I think this could be the revolution that changes the whole world. Because I do think people will figure it out and go, we're the have-nots because we can't afford, we can't get, we can't. And it's going to change everything. It'll change who they vote for. It'll change how they eat. It's going to change everything.
I completely agree. I think I'm just so addicted to trying to learn as much as possible, because I think the exact same thing. That's what it's going to be the next 10, 15 years. It's going to be such a dramatic change of the biggest food manufacturing companies is just going to need to find new things to do, give people sort of get the control back and this medication.
Well, I think it shifts the industry from selling as many calories per dollar or pound as possible to selling the best calories per dollar or pound as possible.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily put them out of business. Some of them will. I think the ones that don't change will be gone.
Yeah.
It's just,
I mean, people will still have to eat. We still have to eat. We're just not eating nearly as much, for sure. And then like you said, the quality, we're a little bbit more focused on quality calories, not, junk food and McDonald's and cheeseburgers and all that stuff.
So you've lost 50 pounds basically. Yeah. Talk to me about clothes. Have you had to buy new clothes yet?
Yep. I think that's the other. I was probably a bit of an emotional eater beforehand. So I think what was previously when I go for food for the answer, I've started just buying things now. And I keep blaming it on this sort of health journey. So like a new watch to track steps, or the clothes. Oh. I've gone from a UK 2XL to a large now. So it's sad seeing the clothes go away. And then thankfully Black Friday.
Getting rid of the old one?
Yeah, Black Friday we're going to get a massive
yay. Yeah.
shipments of things in just to replace.
Have you gotten rid of the old clothes, or you still have them?
I like just to get them out of the house. I recently bought a new house and just trying to keep it as clean as possible, just to forget that sort of old me. I think I think in the UK, the providers will only provide it for 2 years. I don't think that's been changed yet. I think in the US, you can get it for longer. I expect that to change by the end of, with 2 years are up for me. I think they've gone back on that policy or extended it. But I feel like as long as I'm sort of on this, like I can't imagine being able to go back up to the size that I was without it. So the thought of keeping the clothes out, I'm not sentimental to see the pile constantly getting bigger, just more clothes that don't fit.
And I think a year from now, the whole landscape of these medications will change. So I definitely think there'll be, like Chris was saying, new drugs that come along, hopefully lower prices as more competition and more drugs come to market. So, but in the UK, you think that they won't prescribe beyond 2 years?
I haven't seen any providers that, as standard, will give it you for more than 2 years. That's probably different if you go through the NHS. So I can't speak for sort of everything, but I know that the few providers I've looked at won't provide it for more than 2 years as of right now.
Is there any talk of maintenance, when you get to your goal weight, that will look like?
There's some studies being done at the moment, but I think they're based on the emails they have been getting from my provider. They just want me on the highest titration possible to get the most money out of me. So nothing about maintenance yet.
And so Eli Lilly has a study that they talked about. We just had what was a big conference, a symposium here in the US called Obesity Week, where they talked about a study they're doing called, it's in addition to the Surmount, called Maintain, where they look at, basically they split people into 3 groups. One got a placebo, so you're just getting water or whatever in there. One titrates down to 5 milligrams from whatever their highest dose, and one stays on the highest dose they needed to lose weight.
To the end.
So it'll be a year or 2 before we know any results on that. But I mean, at least they're doing something. They're trying to figure it out.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see, and I'll be keeping up with it. But at the moment, I'm sort of just focused. I'm sure the next 20 weeks, I won't see the other 50% go. To be a bit longer, I'm sure, as it slows down. But I still feel like it's a long way.
It sounds like you're doing all the right things. So you're definitely having great success. So I hope I don't see why it wouldn't continue for you. So
yeah, I mean, I can tell you my last 20 pounds. I wouldn't say it's hard because it's not hard, but it's slow. Now I haven't really gained weight though. I mean, so I've been maintaining, but I've got another. I want to get to 190. I want to see below 200, safely below 200. But it's been a challenge. I mean, it's, day by day, and then it's about adjusting calories, because it turns out at 202 versus 280, you don't need as many calories, and just trying to, again, it's that science experiment, kind of playing with what you're doing. But I don't know. I kind of feel like the longer I can just maintain where I am and keep going down, it's all good. I'm fine.
I think I also struggle to find that balance between not letting it consume everything that I'm doing. I don't want my life to be always about what I'm eating and always about the medication and the Mounjaro. So I noticed myself doing it as a sort of trying to read as many books and trying to keep up with sort of content online. But I also sort of just wanted to live my life and just accept that there's something happening in the background. But it is, because it's so exciting losing weight and seeing it come off each week, I think it is very difficult to not just sort of want to learn and focus on it as much as possible. So,
so what do your friends say? You like go out to the pub, right? Or go get some fish and chips or whatever. What are they saying?
I think they're just sort of happy to see on my face the improvements, because I think I didn't mention it at the start, but I sort of had a stroke last year, which was quite bad for sort of my age. And I thought that would be more of a bigger shock than it probably was. I didn't change too much. I sort of maintained weight since then. So my friends that knew me, the sort of the stuff I went through with that and all this, the mental health, the things that happened off the back of that, to then see me now, it's sort of a night and day difference between what I was sort of back then. I also recently did sort of a health checkup. I did one at the start and I did one now, just to see how everything sort of changed since then. And I'm now just sort of a healthy person with fat around the sort of the outside, the sort of visceral fat tests, or the sort of cholesterol's come down, my blood pressure's completely normal, my resting heart rate's come down massively from what it was to a healthy range. So it is just a case of getting rid of that visual fat at the moment. But I guess I'm still young, so I wouldn't see the issues of being at this size until I I'd been at it for a while. But it's
Well, but
nice
if you had a stroke, probably that weight was a contributing factor, right?
I think it's gonna, if I can keep it off now, it's gonna mean I live a lot longer than if I hadn't have made these changes. So it feels good, and it's nice when the friends sort of make the comments. But I think I don't know if it's just a guy thing. They're not going to mention it. They'd rather just take the mess and make jokes about it. So I think
that's nice. You have people around you that care about you and have seen you through some, your health issues. So, that's nice. And so young to have a stroke. Like, what do you know? What was the cause of that? Or
stress didn't help. It was just my blood pressure had just gotten to a particularly high rate. Before I'd had the stroke, I'd been for a health checkup, and they took my blood pressure and they advised I just go straight to the hospital. Like, you can have a stroke at any moment. Eventually I did. It's just I couldn't do anything to bring my blood pressure down. So
wow.
It surprises me that the NHS wouldn't go, this guy needs this medicine.
Yeah, they didn't even mention it. I hadn't heard about it. Literally a year had gone past, and I
mean, to me, if anybody needs it,
someone with super high blood pressure. You're right. If you're right. Wow. Well, I'm glad that you found out about it. I'm glad that you got on it. So it's definitely made a difference in your blood pressure. Did you have any other? You mentioned high blood pressure and cholesterol and things. Any other issues that have resolved with
the heart rate? So my resting heart rate was 140. Just sat down, it would be it was crazy.
Wow.
And it's come down by like 50. It's now sort of stops at 80.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's
a lot.
That's good.
Do you have a family history, or is it genetic? You think?
Not necessarily. I think I've just poor diet, didn't move, and was setting myself up for an early grave if I didn't do anything about it.
When we talk about the disease of obesity, you get all those things. You're kind of checking the box on every one of those things.
I think one of the things that maybe surprised me a little bit as well, I didn't know what my blood sugars was like too much then, or my glucose response. But a couple of weeks ago, I got a continuous glucose monitor just to see what Mounjaro was doing. And it's, even when I was trying to force it to spike, I couldn't, because of how well controlled Mounjaro is. I wasn't diabetic beforehand, but even when I was trying to drink just orange juice and just to see if I could get a response, I could never get it to go to an out of sort of a safe green zone, which I think is really, really interesting. And if people are taking Mounjaro and haven't done that, I think I'd recommend just trying a 2-week continuous glucose monitor just to see how effective it is, just for that.
Yeah. It started with type 2 diabetes for a reason, because it was so effective in lowering people's blood sugar. So we had someone else on that was talking about they wore a continuous glucose monitor just to see, what their blood sugar levels were.
He was the triathlon
guy. The triathlon guy.
He was really serious.
That's not quite me.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people like the data. They like to see those numbers and how they relate to how they're feeling. So yeah.
You're an accountant. Come on.
Yeah.
Don't you need a spreadsheet?
Numbers is possible. Yeah.
Did you make a spreadsheet with your weight or anything to track it?
Yeah. Yes, there is. Of course, there is. The small things.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, so have you tracked then some of the other things? Like, a lot of people will talk about shot location makes a difference. Have you played with any of that?
I've not noticed any difference on. I've stuck to my stomach just because I think it's the easiest injection site. I've not noticed any difference between how it makes me feel. I think it's more been the external things I've tried to test just to see how it makes me feel.
Mm-hmm. I've tried all the spots and I haven't found any difference. And I have more fat in my stomach than anywhere else. So.
It just feels there's less pain, isn't there? Just sticking it in your stomach.
Yeah. I've done almost all of mine.
I thought the arm hurt. Honestly, I did not like the arm at all.
Yeah.
It was not good. Well, so what advice would you give people about all this?
One of the things that I don't think I did enough of was take measurements and take pictures. While I was tracking so many different things, of them pictures that I've sent you, they're the only 2 pictures I've taken. I took one at the start, and I had to ask the company that I'm getting Mounjaro from to send me that picture, because I didn't keep a copy of it because I didn't want to see what it looked like at the time, to then take a picture just then. So I don't have progress throughout. It's just how I felt in watching the number come down on the scales. And then I just try and find what feels comfortable for you. If you feel you need to talk to someone, then try and find someone online or someone who's sort of close to talk about. But if you don't want to talk about it, don't feel like you need to. I think it's if you want to keep it to yourself, then that's completely fine as well.
Well, so how did you feel about sending us pictures to show online?
Yeah, I had to get my wife to take the picture. I was like, could you just take a picture of me, please? I think having lost the weight, it's so much easier to look back and then be fine with it. But if you'd have asked me to send you that picture while I was at that weight, there wasn't a chance that I would appear on this today. Because
I'm with you.
Yeah.
You just don't feel like sharing that online. So
well, definitely keep taking pictures because it always helps to see progress, especially as you get closer to your goal weight and it might slow down a little bit. It's helpful to go back and look at pictures so you can really see. Sometimes it's hard when we look in the mirror, but it's much easier to see a side-by-side picture.
The difference between 50 and 100 pounds down is a lot.
Yeah, so you'll have to have a whole nother set of clothes when you lose your next.
That's the issue. I need to wait till Black Friday, get half a wardrobe done, and then
that's when you go get the bespoke suit.
Yeah, that's the fancy stuff.
Right? Yes. He goes to High Street, he gets the bespoke suits, the Prince of Wales pattern, all the stuff. You got to do it, man.
Well, and some of the clothes we bought as we've been going through the process, like I bought a pair of jeans and I put them in the closet and then it was summer and I forgot about them and then I pulled them out and they were too big. Like I missed my window of opportunity for wearing them. So
one of my mistakes as well, I think a couple of months before I started Mounjaro, I binned all the stuff that was too small for me that I'd been keeping into my bed for ages. So I'd have had more wardrobes to pull out, but I've literally got nothing. So I don't wear a big array of clothes at the moment. It's basically the same things and I have to wash them each week. Otherwise I've struggled.
Well, it's good you work from home. So
what does your wife think of all this?
I think it's quite interesting. So she's pregnant at the moment, so they don't recommend the pregnant people.
Congratulations.
That was another motivator to lose the weight. It's crazy how big a motivator that is, just sort of in the background. But I think it's actually been quite tough because she's getting bigger and I'm getting smaller and there's not really anything you can do about it by not taking the medication. I've spoken to her about it and I think it's good to have them conversations, but I think she's just happy to see me healthier and seeing what it's doing for my health. I think that's sort of more important than.
I think when I was pregnant, Christopher gained sympathy weight along with me.
I imagine you'd have absolutely hated him if he was dropping 50 pounds.
I imagine it would have been hard if he was losing while I was gaining. But the most important thing is this your first baby?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, the most important thing is just, of course, to have that healthy baby. And there's Mounjaro will be here if she needs it in the future. So when is she due?
It'll be the end of February. So I'm sort of using that as the deadline to try and get to the idea is to get overweight by Christmas, which to people that just know I was obese to begin with. So overweight by Christmas, and then try and get as close as possible to just a healthy BMI. I think it's probably a little bit too early to say end of February. I don't want to rush it or force it off, but it'll be nice to be as close to a healthy weight as when that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that baby changes more than I promise you. Because my girls are in college now, so they're 18 and 20. But you wake up and you're like, oh, I want to be alive to see grandchildren, to walk them down the aisle, to that you just.
It's a very powerful motivator. Yeah,
it was 2 weeks into Mounjaro when we found out, so it was sort of like, oh, okay, that's an additional appetite suppressant. Being told you're going to be a dad.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting. So you'll have to check back in with us, when you get to your goal, and we can see what else you've learned, and that'd be exciting. And see that baby
pictures.
We love babies. So.
Yeah. I have three kids. My oldest is a year younger than you, Zach. He's 26. So I would love to see him get married and have a baby. So hint, hint, if you're watching out there, son.
I don't think he is. But.
I don't know. Maybe someday we can hope. So,
Absolutely.
but yeah, it's been great talking to you
Pleasure.
today, Zach. So thank you so much for coming on. If you out there watching would like to be on the Downsize Dish, please send us an email to Laraine at thedownsized.org. There it is right there. And we'll send you an email just like Zach. I think Zach sent me an email. We got them scheduled and it was just like boom, boom, boom. Right, Zach?
Yes.
So so send us an email. We'll get you scheduled, and be sure to check out, like and subscribe. That's running across the screen right now. Right. Like and subscribe, and check out our website at thedownsize.org, where we've got some Amazon links to protein things we like, supplement things I like, some news stories Christopher reports on, a link to my spreadsheet where you can download a copy and track your weekly weights and things. So,
And as you can see, we'll talk to anybody in the world. We'll make it work. I mean, I think there's so many exciting stories around these medications and people getting healthier and happier. Let us know. If you haven't seen somebody like you, it's because you haven't reached out. We'll put you on screen.
It wasn't so bad, was it, Zach? Thanks for watching. I'm Laraine Durham.
And I'm Christopher Durham.
And this is The Downsized.